Hey there, and welcome to session number 9 of the Epic Personal Trainer podcast. My name is Mark, and today I'm going to be talking to you about your ideal client. There are a ton of reasons to know who your ideal client is, but it isn't as straightforward as just deciding who you want it to be by sitting down with a pen and paper. It is possible, but it's pretty rare. So, for most trainers, it's going to take a little bit of time and some experience on the gym floor with clients to figure it all out. Now, there are a lot of reasons to do this exercise, and some are going to pay off right now, and some maybe a little more in the future. So let's get stuck in. So, by knowing your ideal client, the hope is that when everything is in place, you get to work with the people you like to work with and on the goals that you like to help them work towards. So, you become a little bit specialized in an area, you niche down, you're moving away from being that generalist trainer that you may have started as. I think it was in session number 3 when I did an episode that was about whether you should generalize or specialize when starting out. And this is another good reason to start out as a generalist because although it takes a bit more time, you can really narrow down and figure out with a lot more certainty who your ideal client is. You can realize it a lot easier and move in that direction of specialization. By niching down, you'll hopefully work with the people you like, which helps a lot with your job satisfaction. You're going to really enjoy what you do, spending time with the people that you're doing it with. You're going to look forward to your work a lot more. Now, you can also become known as a go-to person for that niche or that specialist area. There's a world famous marketer called Jay Abraham, and he calls this being preeminent. And this is his theory of preeminence. It's about being the go-to person, the obvious choice for helping people within a certain niche. So when somebody has a issue that you are able to fix as a trainer, and you become that obvious choice for people to come to and get help and advice, and hopefully in the end buy your services, and you be that trainer that they hire. So you are the one to be there to help them to get over their problem and reach their own goals. So that way you get to help more of the right people, you get to enjoy your job more, and you get to become the known person, the expert in your area, which is going to be great for your business. So, there are a bunch of people in the industry that I can think of that have done this in one way or another. So I think of Nick Mitchell at UP, Ultimate Performance. And in my mind, when I think of him straight away, I think of some of the best transformations that you've ever seen in the industry. There are also people like Steve Cotter, who's all about kettlebells, one of the best guys in the world, one of the best you'll ever see. Then there are people like Dr. John Berardi, and straight away you're going to think about nutrition. All of them probably never started off their training careers focusing heavily on that one niche. And I don't think Steve Cotter began only with kettlebells. I mean, maybe he did, but I'd be surprised if he did. I bet he started off with more general ways of training and then started using kettlebells one day, become really interested in them, and then was obviously really good with them as well. And basically things would have taken off from there. So when you find that one thing that you really love and you're really good at, and you love the people that you're doing it with, it's going to really help with the enjoyment of your career. It's going to help keep pushing you forward in a really cool way. The next part of this is once you have your ideal client figured out and you decide that you want to specialize, then it allows you to really connect with potential customers on a really deep level. This is because you're going to understand your ideal client better than any kind of generalist would. That means when you start doing any kind of marketing or networking, you're going to know as best as you can where your ideal clients are, where they congregate, whether it's online or in person. And that allows you to really reach out to them and be able to speak to them in a much better way. Now, even if you're just starting out and you're currently a generalist type trainer in a commercial gym, do you think you really need to know who your ideal client is? I mean, you don't really get to choose who you work with or decide on the goals or anything like that. But I'm going to tell you, it's a great idea for you to start taking notice and making notes about the people you really like to work with, what type of people they are, and also what goals they like to work towards. What you'll find over time is you'll discover certain things and patterns about the people you like working with, the people that you attract and are pulled towards you. So, for example, are these people you're working with that you enjoy working with, are they more beginners or are they more experienced gym goers or lifters? I know some trainers that love to work with clients that are focused on improving strength, but really dislike working with beginners. It's because they just don't have the patience to explain and go back to basics and show people what a hip hinge is for the thousandth time. They want to get into the more advanced and kind of clever ways of training where they can really help their client. So you need to figure out what suits you. Some trainers really like the reward of working with older adults and helping them move really well and help them to achieve a higher level of well-being later on in life. There are other trainers that really like working with fat loss. These are really impactful goals that really have a massive improvement on people's lives. Now, when you look at it, though, even fat loss actually has a lot of different dimensions to it. Some trainers really like helping clients going from 40% body fat to 20% body fat. And that's really life changing. And that's where trainers like that really excel. Other trainers really like the nitty gritty of, maybe taking a male client from 15% body fat to under 10. And those trainers love to help these clients overcome that difficulty of getting to lower body fat levels while using more advanced methods. You see, different trainers are good with different mentalities as well that each of these fat loss clients might have. Each one will have a different set of outlooks, a different set of fears and obstacles that they're going to run into through the journey. So there are a lot of different things you can look at in terms of the goals and the people that you work with throughout the day. And hopefully you can see that to decide these at the very start of your business might be difficult. You won't know what to look at just yet. You won't know what you like either. Of course, there might be some exceptions. So for example, if you want to work in pre and postnatal training, then that pretty much defines your ideal client for you. But this isn't going to be the case for most trainers. So while you're trying to get to know your own ideal client, there are two things that you're going to look at. One is the demographics and the other one is the psychographics. So the demographics are like the personal details of your ideal client, maybe their gender, their age, what they earn, what the location they live in, all that kind of stuff. But you only need to define the things that matter. There's no need for you to define something that is basically irrelevant just for the sake of it. So, going back to the pre and postnatal trainer, you can obviously only work with women and women that between certain ages, which are childbearing ages. So those details can be marked down in your ideal client profile. But let's say you like working with older adults. Now, maybe a certain age becomes relevant because, it's older adults, but now gender may not be so important. You don't have to worry about that. Maybe you're a trainer that likes to work with tennis players. Gender then might also be unnecessary detail, but maybe age is. You can use either things to help you define your ideal client. So, if you're an in-person PT working in a commercial gym, you may like working with fat loss clients that are beginners. Maybe they're male and starting out at around 25% body fat and want to get down to 10 or 12. And they have to live in your local area since it is an in-person service. But maybe now you're, say, an online trainer. You might like to work with people that have around 25% body fat again, and maybe you want to get down to 10 or 12. But this time, you might prefer clients that have a little bit of lifting experience. You prefer that because it suits the online process better. It's hard to teach lifting technique to people online that you come into contact with once a week. Also, because you're an online trainer, now you don't need to have people locally. You can now focus on the whole world, but you might want to add that, speaking a certain language is going to be added to the profile. So let's move on. We've covered the demographics. Now we can have a bit of a look at the psychographics of your potential client. Demographic details are kind of a little bit more surface level, and these psychographics lets us think a little bit deeper. So the psychographics include things such as a client's interests, the activities that they love, and their opinions and values on certain topics. So how are you going to figure these out? Well, like I said before, just look at the past clients you've worked with, the people you work with now, the people you train, the people you even hang out with, the ones you really get on with. Notice the traits that they have and, why do you get on with them so much? Why do you like these clients so much? But again, just focus on the areas that are going to be relevant to you and how you can develop your client so that you can try and find more people that are similar to them. If you have clients that love to cook, then that can be helpful in relation to the goal that they might have for fat loss. But if you're interested in knitting, then that's not going to be so useful. Obviously, you want maybe gym or weightlifting or health and wellness to be one of their interests too. So that's what you're doing. That's what you're helping them with. And if they have this existing interest and already enjoy that kind of thing, then it can be really useful along the journey. Now, opinions can be a little trickier. Their opinions on different topics or views on the world are much harder, but it can also really help you connect if you can figure it out. So just as one example, right now, a lot of people, a lot of companies are going green and working towards reducing their carbon footprints and trying to become more sustainable. And if that's also important to you, when you communicate about that, it will appeal to those potential clients a lot more because they will see that you hold similar values to them. You're more like-minded and you have common ground. So, let's look at this with maybe a bit of a training example when it relates to training. So I'm sure you already know some people that love trainers that are kind of, this taskmaster. I've seen a lot of ex-military trainers that come in and they do really well with this style of training. And, it's almost become a little bit of a stereotype, but, a lot of shouting at the client, do this, do that, push, push, the loud shouting instructional style. A lot of people really love that. People do absolutely love that. And, that speaks towards a certain mentality of the client. Some people love having that strong instruction and guidance. They can take being shouted at because that's their mentality and it's what gets them going. It gets them focused and they feel they work hard and have a really great session. But other people, if you try that approach, well, they're going to get upset. They're going to feel like almost bullied on the gym floor, maybe a little bit embarrassed. They hate being shouted at because that's their mindset and their kind of approach and expectations on how things work. It's going to be vastly different to the first type of client that responds well to the shouting. So, if you are a trainer that does that kind of shouting and have that kind of experience, you're going to have a bit of a mismatch. So you can use this information to attract the clients that find that appealing to you. So in your psychographics, that is their values and their opinions on how training should be done. And you can use that then in your marketing and in your social media and even your trial sessions to help attract and kind of filter out the people that isn't suited to you. Now, for the sort of last part of the podcast today, I thought I would finish off a little bit about how this works for my business, Epic Personal Trainer. So the demographics for the Epic Personal Trainer to start with is, a person can live anywhere. It's not location dependent, although I do focus a little bit more on India because, in India, things are very different from that of the UK or the US. It's a very different market. The systems are different. The mindset is different and unique. For this business, the location just does not matter as much because it's all done online. Secondly, gender doesn't really matter. It can be for men or women. There's no real defining difference between the two and how you would treat them. So stating it's for a specific gender is also not needed. Now, essentially, my goal is to help new personal trainers get started off on the right foot so they don't fall into that trap of not being able to build a successful business and having to quit within the first 6 months of becoming qualified, which, is kind of half of all trainers. So I wanted to help new trainers, especially. So my focus is on both men and women over the age of 18, because that's generally the age you need to be to take the course. New personal trainers or are just about to finish their CPT course and they're about to enter the industry. There's no need to worry about their income or formal education background or marital status or anything like that. So, that's the demographics. It's very bare bones for this because my one major deciding factor is that they are going to be new personal trainers. Now, when we look at the psychographics, there's a lot more. To start off with, I know that most new personal trainers are interested in training and sports or sports that are quite often performance based. So they have a strong playing background in some sport or another. They're going to be interested in health and wellness. And these are some of the main routes, that trainers get into the industry from. Their opinions on health and fitness are going to be very, very strong, even if they follow different practices and methods to achieve it. There's going to be a lot of things that a new trainer is going to be fearful of. Fear of not being successful, maybe not getting the job they want in a certain gym that they love, A lot of the time, trainers are going to be fearful of talking to clients to start with. They're going to be very nervous in a new setting with a new role. They find it hard going up to members because they think they're going to be disturbing them all the time. They're worried that if they're going to get a client, then when they do get one, they're going to hurt them and lose that client. New trainers will often worry if they're going to be able to build enough of a client base. They don't know about different systems and processes that they can put in place to make a nice, smooth running business. They're worried they're not going to make enough money, have a proper career, all these kinds of things. So there's a lot of obstacles and resistance in their way to sometimes get started or to take the next step. One of the reasons for this is that CPT courses don't really prepare you for the reality of day-to-day personal training. Now, because I've worked with trainers that are just starting out in the industry for the last 12 or 13 years, and in two different countries as well, I get to talk to a lot of trainers and what they're struggling with and what they're worried about. So this allows me to create something really good, really relevant, really useful to help serve them and help them fix their problem. Hopefully in time, I can become, the go-to person for trainers that fit in this demographic and this psychographic that are in that situation. So, I haven't guessed these things. I haven't made it up. It's what I've discovered from working with hundreds of trainers over the last decade. So the main thing is that if you are specialized or if you want to, then this is almost an essential task for you. And when it's done right and you execute it properly, it's going to give you so much job satisfaction. And remember, it can really help you scale what you're doing. You'll be able to attract people to your business far above and beyond your competition. Even if you're in a commercial gym, just start to take notice. Be aware and be conscious of all these different types of clients and the different goals you're helping them with. Recognize the people you love to work with and the goals that they have. That way, you can start building a profile out over a period of time until you want to take the next steps. Then once you've got it figured out, your personal way of kind of communicating all the information and presenting yourself means that you're going to attract these people naturally and you're going to have and build a kick-ass business. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. And I do really appreciate you. And I'll hopefully see you in the next one.